do you talk about Jazeera and the new media? Do you think Al Jazeera and this new media, internet, these new communications will servirán también para producir esa transformación del Islam?
They have already, not by themselves, but they have. By the way, I was one of the first people to visit Al Jazeera. Now they have tours for journalists. There are so many. But when I visited, they had no one. And they gave me tapes of many of their programs. There was no CD yet in the 1996. But I used them in teaching. So for their advertising, they would say that somebody is teaching an entire course on us at Dartmouth College. So I told them, no, not quite. But what they would do is something that was without precedent in the late 1990s. They would have programs like Al-Ittijah al-Mu'akkis, the opposite direction. And what that program would do would be to bring people with contrary points of view. For instance, you would have somebody, very well-known Syrian philosopher, Sadiq al-Adham, who would explain what secularism is, which was never done before anywhere in the Arab world on television in public. With him was Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi, a very conservative Muslim brother who has a wide following. I am not one of his followers, I'm sure, but they had to explain in public. Anywhere I went in the Arab world, if people did not have satellite television to see things, you could buy it on cassette. And the way I would know that, I would go into a little shop, bodega, in Morocco, and I'd say, I want to see this program with Sadiq al-Adham and Qaradawi. I already had a copy, but it was to see whether they knew about it. Without fail, in Morocco, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, Syria, they'd say, did you bring your own empty CD, or do we sell you one? And they would have it ready the next day. So that would mean that people who could not pay subscriptions for satellite television, people who were not middle class, still would be able to see the same things. So yes, these forms of communication dramatically change. There have been studies in Egypt saying that every computer, up to 100 people use that computer in the course of a week. These are internet cafes. They're not very good often, but they're not expensive. Morocco, very much the same thing. If you can't own a computer and a telephone line at home, and many people can't, internet cafe.
Y eso cambia la mentalidad, transforma el Islam.
It offers, and internet has everything. It for some people, it offers hope. For others, it offers information or new ways of thinking. Uses of learning about violence on internet, I think, is finished, because I think most of the security services watch what people watch, and this limits some of the excesses of earlier times, but not everywhere. The police and the users of internet are constantly in a battle to see who knows their technology better.
¿Son compatibles o no?
Another good question I could answer in one word, my opinion. Yes, they are compatible. To say why, I would say many Muslim religious leaders are now saying very sophisticated things. They would say, we think about the Quran, words of God for guiding our religious life, for guiding our personal life. We should also think about Islam as offering us a way of thinking about our politics. Even if the word democracy or demokratia, which is of course a new word in Arabic, does not appear in the Quran, the spirit of consultation, the spirit of persuading by means of words and actions rather than by force can predominate. Will it happen overnight? No. One Muslim fundamentalist I know who's been a friend of mine for many years, here I'm using the word fundamentalist as he would have used it in the 1990s, has said to me, the best model, and he has said this in Arabic, the best model for democracy in the world is the Middle East. Is the United States of America. And I would say, when did you start working? I knew him well. When did you start working for the United States government? And he said, no, I mean it, because one way it's a model. He said, look, the Americans did not give equality to everybody overnight. The American Constitution said that everyone's equal, but it took over 200 years for women to get the vote, slaves to get the vote, and for certain minority groups, African Americans, to really get an opportunity to vote as well in all of our places. And so if it takes the United States 200 years, why should we expect to have one of our leaders say we're going to be democratic tomorrow and to have everything become democratic in one day? It takes time to build up the institutions, the trust, and everything else. It can't just come from the top. It helps if the top facilitates, but that's not enough.
La otra cuestión es cuándo podrá haber países islámicos laicos, donde la religión no sea tan dominante, sino que la religión sea una cuestión más de la sociedad, como en nuestras sociedades. Esto también llevará mucho tiempo, supongo, ¿no? Turquía parece que es el primer país que está un poco intentando esa posibilidad.
I remember a conversation I had in Casablanca in the 1980s. And at that time, Moroccans were aware that their elections were not always open, and in some areas were very unopen. But the same people would speak in great detail about the French elections. And when I would ask them, as a foreigner who writes on Morocco, about Moroccan elections, conversation would stop. But then they would go on and talk about the French elections. Why? Nobody cares about the French elections, but they would show that they understood what you need in terms of preparations, campaigns, trust in institutions, and everything else for them to work. So they knew a lot about democracy and elections, but at that time they felt that they could not actually, they did not have the opportunity to do it. Since then, I would say Morocco is a very interesting place. Sometimes in an effort to make things more open. For instance, one election, 2002, where the Moroccan state used proportional representation. The rules for how to count ballots were so complicated that I could not understand them in Arabic. So I said, okay, that's me. I tried them in French. I still could not understand them. And that evening, I sat with the governor, and the governor's in charge of interpreting the rules for the staff. And I said, the man totally bilingual in French and Arabic. And I said, I guess it's me. I don't understand. And he said, oh, I don't either.